So this was the hashtag PPP clue for today's video. Congratulations to Hi My Name is Bonnie P, Archie McCads, A Riri, Dan Gold, Peace Mimi, Moody Jimmy, Tinye Clairs, RWG Werewolf King, Gracie Next Kazi Nextka, and Strange Side of Hannah for getting it correct. If you'd like a chance at a shout out on my next video, then be sure to follow me on Instagram and stay tuned for my next hashtag PPP clue.
K-pop!
A billion-dollar industry that has broken records, dominated music charts, and launched the careers of some of the most popular stars today. But for every BTS or Blackpink, there are thousands of underrated idols. People who have worked just as hard, but whose names remain unheard and faces remain unrecognized. Hi, I'm Evangeline, and I am so not like other girls. Okay, but for reals though, I'm just not like most other humans, period. Because whether it's ordering the least popular thing on the menu or watching the least popular film, I'm just one of those people who's strangely obsessed with researching the obscure. So that's why when it comes to K-pop, I knew that it was up to me to go in search of the idols that few had searched for, to take an interest in these idols that no one cared about, and to uncover their fascinating stories that nobody bothered covering. So that I can bring you this video that you probably never asked for. Cue the intro. Today on the Unluckiest Idols, despite dancing alongside many of the top K-pop acts, their luck and success hasn't seemed to rub off on this unlucky idol. Her 10 years of hard work hasn't paid off, with all 5 of her debuts ending in disbandment after just one comeback. Could it finally be time for this idol to call it quits? Or is there still light at the end of the tunnel? In this video, we will be discussing the tragic career of 30-year-old Moon Jinsil, also known by her stage names Hiso and Jin. Fun fact, I just realized that this is actually the 3rd time that this idol has appeared on my channel. And let's be real, if you are an aspiring idol, appearing on my channel isn't usually a good sign. Wow, my channel is a sad place, isn't it? But if you're a clothing brand, then it's a whole different story. Because today's video is brought to you by Orange Juice the brand, whose clothes I'm pretty sure I featured in almost every single video at this point. And honestly, it's because I love how stylish, versatile, and comfortable their clothes are. And I actually wear them all the time. Like, it's gotten to the point where I've been living off the same few Orange Juice the brand clothes all year. So I'm honestly just glad that they are releasing their new summer collection, because that means that my friends and family will finally get to see me in some new outfits.
Wow, new clothes finally.
Mom! It's clear that I love their clothing, and I think that you will love them too. So don't forget to check out their website, which I'll be linking in the description down below, and be sure to use code CLUEP10 for 10% off. And wow, speaking of the number 10, that actually brings us right back to Jinsil's story, because she started in the K-pop industry a full 10 years ago. So let's rewind all the way back to the year 2011. So according to Jinsil, she started training sometime in 2011, though not much is known about her earliest days as a trainee, and the first that anyone really saw of Jinsil was in 2013, when she started appearing on stages as a backup dancer, and a pretty busy backup dancer, might I add. From U-Kiss's comeback stage to IU's music video, Jinsil actually appeared in many of K-pop's most iconic performances, and her face could be seen everywhere. If you pay close attention, and you look in the background, and you play the video in slow motion, of course. There she is. And that was precisely the problem. I mean, unless you were specifically looking for Jinsil, most people were not going to see her. As a background dancer, Jinsil was not the star of the show, she was not the focus of these stages, and despite dancing tirelessly in performance after performance, most fans had no idea who she was, nor did they really care to pay attention to her. Jinsil knew deep down that if she truly wanted to be seen, she needed to take the next step and actually become an Idol. And so in late 2014, Jinsil auditioned for Shimtang Entertainment to join their girl group Global Icon. So Global Icon was a group that debuted in 2013 and are mostly known for their tomboyish concept. Now, it was later revealed that this boyish concept was actually forced onto the members by their company and their very own fans. But that in and of itself is a whole mess, and I actually covered this group in more detail in my previous video. So I'm not going to touch too much on this story now. But essentially at this point in 2014, the group was really not doing well, and they had just lost 3 out of their 5 original members, which is why Shimtang was trying to recruit some new replacements. It is unknown just how many people participated in this audition, but considering her extensive stage experience, it really was no surprise that Jinsil was chosen for the final lineup. 2015. In June of 2015, after 4 years of training, Jinsil finally made her debut as one of the new members of Global Icon, along with 2 other girls, Jiamin and Do-kyung. And along with this lineup change, Shimtang Entertainment also did a complete rebrand of the group, foregoing its previously tomboyish image in favor for a much more mainstream and sexy concept. But the problem was, Global Icon had always been marketed as a boyish girl group. That was their entire premise and their main selling point. And so, as you can imagine, this drastic concept change did not go down well with fans. Many fans felt deceived and betrayed, and needless to say, the comeback did very poorly, receiving an abysmal like-to-dislike ratio and a barrage of negative reviews. Additionally, Jinsil, along with the other new members, were not well received. They faced accusations of lip-syncing and were even blamed for the group's concept change and general decline. With such a disastrous rebrand, it was clear that the group was at a point of no return. And so the members started leaving one by one, resulting in the group's unofficial disbandment sometime towards the end of 2015.
안녕하세요, 희소입니다.
2016. It seemed Jinsil's career had gotten off to a pretty bad start, but she remained undeterred and quickly managed to re-debut, this time as part of another girl group, Hexae. Like Global Icon, Hexae was also a pre-existing group that debuted a year earlier, with members Soye, Sarah, Soeun, Mireille, as well as a 5th unnamed member who left shortly before debut. And this was allegedly the member that Jinsil was replacing. Now, I'm sure joining Hexae would have seemed like an amazing opportunity at first, but I think it soon became obvious why this 5th member that Jinsil was replacing might have left. You see, this group, if you can even call it that, was essentially completely focused on just one member. And I know you're probably thinking this member might have gotten slightly better outfits, or maybe they received a few more lines than everybody else, but no. Hexae was really something else, and I can only imagine that this group must have been self-funded by one of the members, Soye, because not only was she the leader, center, face of the group, as well as the producer and composer on every single track, she was also the only member to ever feature in any of their music videos, the only member to have solo songs, and the only member to be formally introduced during their debut. It was clear that none of the other members mattered, and frankly, I don't even know why they bothered recruiting a replacement for the 5th member, but well, I guess it wasn't really a surprise that when Jinsil joined, she was never officially introduced. In fact, none of us know exactly when she was added, but her first appearance as a member of Hexae was in a magazine spread in January of 2016, followed by a TV show appearance a whole 2 months later in March. Aside from these 2 activities, the group, excluding Soye of course, made no other public appearances, nor did they perform live on any music shows. And as the main dancer of the group, this was a huge problem for Jinsil, because as I mentioned earlier, she wasn't in any of the music videos, so there were no scenes of her dancing there. And since the group had no live performances either, she was pretty much never seen dancing throughout her entire time with Hexae. I mean, just imagine being a main dancer who has never actually been seen dancing. Forgive me. It's honestly ridiculous, and if that wasn't bad enough, most people didn't even know that Jinsil was a member of Hexay. In fact, some people didn't even know that Hexay was a group at all. Like, many people actually thought that Hexay was Soye's stage name. So all that just goes to show how little exposure Jinsil got during her time with Hexay, and it was soon apparent that if she truly wanted to make a name for herself, she needed to find other ways to promote herself and gain exposure. And so in April of 2016, she joined another group, A-Girls. Once again, A-Girls was a pre-existing group that debuted in 2013, and right from the start, this group was in trouble. Not only did this group have an extremely low-budget debut and a very confusing baseball and card game concept, they also underwent numerous lineup changes, including the recent departure of member Dan Woo in February of 2016. As a result, the company recruited Jinsil as a replacement just in time for the group's next comeback, Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo was released on the 16th of May 2016, with promotions spanning the rest of the month. However, Jinsil was only ever seen in one of these performances, and by the 27th of May, a mere 11 days after Yoo-hoo's release, she was quietly replaced with a new member. No announcement was ever made, no news articles were released, and since the group was so underrated, nobody was really discussing this member change. So there wasn't much information to go off of, but I think a very possible reason for her hasty departure might have been the fact that she was still a member of Hexay.
NANI?!
That's right, guys. It turns out that she was actually still a member of Hexay this entire time. Allegedly. I have no idea how this happened, and I certainly hope that she got permission for it, but if not, then I hope my video didn't get her in trouble. Anyways, moving swiftly on. At this point, Hexay was actually gearing up for their next comeback, and obviously they needed their member Jinsil back. So Jinsil left A-Girls and rejoined Hexay. And just a side note, A-Girls ended up disbanding shortly after Jinsil's departure, so I guess it was a good thing that Jinsil left A-Girls. But was her future at Hexay any brighter? Well, on the 25th of August 2016, Hexay finally released their new album #Witches. The title track for this album was Falling Falling. As expected, Soye was the only member seen throughout the entire music video. However, the group also released a behind-the-scenes style music video for their B-side track Hanul Wido, which, believe it or not, actually featured all of the members. Fans were delighted. This was the first time that they had seen the other members feature on a music video. But little did they know, this was also the last, because the group never ended up doing any more activities after this album release, and Soye eventually went on to re-debut as a solo artist. So it can only be assumed that they must have disbanded sometime around late 2016. 2017. So at this point, with no group and no company, it seemed like Jinsil was back at square one. Or was she? Well, throughout her 6 years in the industry so far, she had worked with and gotten to meet so many different types of people, ranging from other dancers and choreographers during her time as a back dancer, to other idols during her time in her numerous girl groups. And all this seemed to pay off when sometime in early 2017, one of these contacts recommended her as a potential member for girl group Various. Various was yet another pre-existing group that had debuted in 2016 under KAL Entertainment, and like all of the other groups so far, Various was also an underrated group with a pretty messy history. In fact, 4 out of the 5 members had just been let go, and based on some of these members' social media posts, it seems like this happened without much notice or discussion. But what was the reason for this sudden member change? Well, it seems KAL Entertainment was preparing to completely revamp Various to take on a more sexy sexy and charismatic concept, which is why the company was trying to recruit members who would better suit Varys' new direction. And what better person to join this group than Jinsil? From Doligo to Yoo-hoo, Jinsil had plenty of experience with the sexy concept, so it was no surprise that she was recommended and ultimately selected to join Varys' lineup. In May of 2017, Jinsil, along with the other new members Taein and Doyoung, finally made their debut as part of the new and revamped Various. With their new concept and lineup, the group actually started attracting some attention from the public, and were even appointed ambassadors of the Korean Imperial Cultural Center. It seemed like Various was finally on an upward trajectory, and everyone, both fans and members alike, were excited to see what 2018 had in store for the group. 2018. Various started off 2018 with a bang when they came back with their song Shadow on the 15th of January. With their elegant concept and impressive vocals, the group slowly began amassing a small fan base, and by the time May rolled around, the group's fan base was actually large enough that the company even began working on an official light stick. Things were really looking up for Various, and it seemed like this group was finally going to be Jinsil's ticket to success, so I spoke too soon. On the 31st of May, just 5 days after members had posted photos of their lightstick design, KAL Entertainment made the shocking announcement that Various had disbanded, citing, quote, disagreements between the members and the company. There was no further explanation, and details of this disbandment honestly remained hazy. But one thing was crystal clear. Jinsil was once again left without a company or a group. Yet, despite her unfortunate circumstances, Jinsil remained hopeful and quickly joined what would be her fifth entertainment company, JSL Company, now known as KJ Entertainment. No one knows exactly how long she remained a trainee at this company, but when nothing came out of this endeavor, Jinsil seemingly had no choice but to return to her dancing career. And so in late 2018, after more than 4 years as an idol, Jinsil resumed her career as a back dancer. As unlucky as Jinsil was with her idol pursuits, the universe seemed to make up for it with her dancing career. She immediately secured one of the most coveted gigs as a back dancer for Jennie's solo promotions, along with Blackpink's end-of-year award show performances, ending what should have been a disappointing year with unexpected success. 2019. Following her successful return to the back dancing scene, 2019 proved to be Jinsil's most successful year. It all started in April, when Jinsil danced for Blackpink's comeback Kill This Love. Then in June, she was in Lee Hi's No One. In August, she appeared in Taiwanese singer Gemma's music video. In October, she became a back dancer for AOA on Queendom. In November, she danced for IU's Love Poem concert. And to finish this busy year off, she spent the entire month of December dancing for Blackpink on their Tokyo Dome tour. But that wasn't all. Jinsil also choreographed dances for Pink Fantasy's Fantasy and Playing House. Overall, 2019 was definitely Jinsil's most fruitful year so far, and ironically, she had actually gained more fame as Blackpink and IU's back dancer this year alone than she had throughout her 4 years as an idol. 2020. The path seemed clear for Jinsil. She had a bright future ahead as a dancer and perhaps a choreographer. But instead of pursuing this route, Jinsil decided to halt all activities as soon as she returned back from Blackpink's tour in the beginning of January. Over the next few months, Jinsil remained active on social media and would regularly hang out with her friends Donga, who if you recall was her groupmate from her time at Various, as well as Kahi, another back dancer that Jinsil had met while dancing for IU. But it turns out these three weren't just friends, because in July, Jinsil along with Donga and Kahi were all revealed to be members of a new group, Blastar.
It seemed Jinsil had decided to give her idol dreams another shot. Perhaps she was hoping that her newfound fame as a dancer would help ensure the success of her and her group this time. And I guess she was right, because as soon as Blastar was announced, articles started popping up across the web revealing Jinsil's previous connection with Blackpink, and this prompted many blinks to flock to Jinsil's past music videos to show their support and express excitement for her upcoming debut. And so, with her newfound fan base, Jinsil made her debut for the 5th time as a member of Blastar with the song One Way. The music video quickly garnered almost 100,000 views within just a month of its release, and the comment section was flooded with supportive comments from Blinks. This was shaping up to be Jinsil's most successful debut so far, and it seemed like Blastar was finally going to be the stable and long-lasting group that she had been looking for all these years. However, as the months wore on, interest in the group stalled, and it quickly became apparent that aside from Blinks, the group wasn't really attracting any new fans. The problem was that Blastar was from VH Entertainment, a small company that didn't really have the funds or connection to properly promote the group. And though the company did manage to get Blastar on a few shows, it simply wasn't enough to get the group's name out there. On top of that, 2020 was an especially difficult year for new and underrated artists because COVID restrictions meant that most venues where these underrated artists performed were now closed, and even street performances were no longer allowed. So essentially, aside from promoting on official music broadcasts, there was no other way for groups like Blastar to promote themselves at all. As a result, on the 24th of December 2020, just 5 months after their debut, Blastar announced that they had officially disbanded, making this Jinsil's 5th disbandment in 10 years. So that Christmas, while everyone else was busy unwrapping presents, the only thing Jinsil had received was yet another stark reminder that being an idol may simply not be in the cards for her. 2021. In January of 2021, Jinsil celebrated her 30th birthday. Now personally, I think that anyone should be able to do anything at any age. And I actually hate how as people age, their opportunities tend to be more limited. Like, it makes no sense to close off these opportunities just based on age. But unfortunately, that is exactly what happens in the K-pop industry as well.
28. 아이돌 하기에는 나이가 은퇴할 나이인 것 같은데?
And so at this point, Jinsil would be well above the upper age limit for most auditions, and realistically, her chances of ever finding another group to debut with is very slim. But all hope isn't lost though, because with age comes experience, and well, Jinsil has had almost a decade of experience dancing on stage. So what better career was there for her than to be a K-pop dance teacher? In 2021, Jinsil set up a profile on a freelance site called Soomgo, where she seems to be offering online dance classes. Unfortunately though, this page was extremely difficult to find, like it was on page 10 of the Google search results. And since I presume most people actually have a life and wouldn't spend weeks obsessively researching an underrated K-pop idol, it seems like nobody else has come across this page so far. But regardless, as of July 2021, Jinsil's profile remains up and running. And though I'm not sure if she's still active on the site, I do sincerely think that she would make a great dance teacher. And with the increasing demand for online dance classes, could this be the start of a whole new chapter for Jinsil? In life, we are often told to chase our dreams, to never give up, and that as long as we work hard and keep trying, we will eventually reach our goals. But as we can see, this isn't always the case. Jinsil chased her dreams. She was already on track to becoming one of the top backup dancers, yet she gave up her dance career in order to pursue her true passion of becoming an idol. Jinsil was a hard worker. She auditioned for company after company and debuted in group after group for an entire decade. She did everything right, yet despite all her hard work, she was unable to achieve her goals. Meanwhile, all the top idols she danced for ironically managed to achieve much greater success despite trying for just a fraction of the time that she did. The truth is, some people just have it easier than others. Some idols can train for just a day and end up debuting in a famous group, while others can train for years and still see no success. Some people might get scouted by top companies, while others need to attend audition after audition. Some underrated groups can suddenly go viral, while others never get a taste of fame. Sadly, in an industry as saturated as the K-pop market, working hard and chasing your dreams is no longer enough. With so many equally passionate and determined people to compete with, luck has now become the crucial factor for determining an idol's success. And unfortunately for Jinsil, it seems like luck simply hasn't been on her side.
So that concludes the unfortunate story of Jinsil's career. While some people might admire her persistence, others might feel like she should have just given up ages ago, and that she might have been even better off just doing her dance career. Ultimately though, this is her life, and I hope that we can all respect her personal decisions. However, I'm more interested in how long you would be willing to spend pursuing an idol career. Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you're interested in knowing my opinions, then be sure to check out my Patreon, where my team and I discuss this very issue. And if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And last but not least, don't forget to check out Orange Juice the brand's website, which I'll be linking in the description down below. And with all that out of the way, I'll see you guys soon. Bye!